So many network marketers fall in love with a health and wellness product, and then they realize that there's an incredible opportunity to build the lifestyle and income of their dreams. But what happens when you get started and you run out of friends and family to talk to, and what you're doing on social media just isn't quite getting you where you want to be? Well, the truth is it's probably not your fault. It just takes a little marketing know-how that you may not be getting from anywhere else. So on this podcast, I'm sharing with you the secrets that I've been able to learn from all of my top earner friends and mentors. I'm pulling back the curtain on exactly what it takes to get people excited about the wellness products that you have to offer, to help people improve their lives, and to get you to the rank that you want to be at. My name is Shauna Goddard, and this is Secrets to Marketing Your Wellness MLM. Hey everybody, I am so excited today to have a dear friend, coach, mentor here with us. This is the amazing Shauna VanBogart. And if you are joining me from Facebook, hello, so excited to have you here. Most of you will be listening to this on the podcast though. And so welcome to all the podcast listeners. I'm going to introduce Shauna here in just a second, but this is so funny. I found Shauna through an Instagram ad, which I think is so random because the number of like Instagram ads that I've clicked on in my life and then actually gone through and really dove into are probably one, like that's it. I think you are maybe one of the, I don't know. I might have bought like some shoes from an Instagram ad, but I've certainly never found a human / coach / friend that I resonated with through an Instagram ad. So I think that was divine.
Oh,
Who
wow.
knows? Yeah. Super crazy, right?
I'm going to need to know what ad that was.
I don't remember because this was like 2 years ago.
I know.
But yeah, I was thinking about that today. I was like, how did I actually meet Shauna? Through an Instagram ad. But anyways, so I found you through an Instagram ad. I joined a free workshop of yours and instantly I was like, this is my person. She's amazing. I want to hear everything that she has to say. So then I've worked my way in the last 2 years through like everything you've offered. So anyways, Shauna, for those of you who don't know her already, is a transformative business coach. And so I love what she describes. She says that she is here to help people evolve their mindset, their business, and their income, which I think is amazing. So thank you so much for being here today, Shauna.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us, and you are in South Carolina right now, right? Charleston?
Yep.
Awesome. I love picturing where people are on the podcasts. How did you get into this line of work in the first place? Like what led you to being a business coach?
Yeah. Well, so it started with transformation. I'd say first and foremost, it's transformation. And then I niched out with business owners because that's frankly the audience that all I've ever known. Because I became a business owner at 21, 22. So I really can't relate to corporate life, or any other scenario, except for the brief stint working for the military.
That's right.
You're right. So
yeah.
I always was intrigued by how we can use these built-in tools of ours to get things like communication and the way we dress. And so all the way back till I was literally 7 years old, I was in the 4-H program. I would do demonstrations every year on personal development topics. And I've just found topics like interviewing skills and etiquette and things like that very interesting as a child, which probably says something about how popular I was or lack of popularity. And so that just naturally evolved into where can I find a place to put these skill sets? And it was very hard to find a job title that existed. And so for me, really, there was no option except to create one. Luckily, image consulting was something that was presented to me actually through my mom, because she was like, I think you would actually like, this is where you could park those skills. And that was kind of an unheard of industry, but that was where I started my business, was image consulting. And so I was quite literally helping people use appearance, behavior, communication to reach their goals in life. And then, you know, as you've seen part of my journey over the past few years, I mean, it's just gone deeper and deeper and deeper because, as I say, it's just not in me to knock it at the core of like, let's get at the real, change agent that's in you, like that core place. So it's just evolved from there.
That I think that's so fascinating because I think that there are so many crossovers between that pathway through image consulting to business consulting, and really what you end up going through if you're trying to brand yourself and show up on the internet and sell anything of any
Oh,
type. You end up going through this journey of like, who am I? How am I being perceived? What do I have to offer? And then you get into the personal development world and it all just kind of meshes. So
Oh,
I love that.
totally. Well, and personal branding. So when I came into image consulting, social media was just getting off the ground, and it was not. I mean, the fan pages for Facebook started about a year and a half into my business, and at the beginning of pages, they weren't being used for business, but some people were jumping on that early, and I was one of those people who was like, "Oh, this is interesting." And
Yeah.
so, jumping on social media so early, I was able to kind of be in image consulting at this very unique place where it was no longer about the offline impression. It was helping people cultivate their presence online. And I was young enough to be like hip to all of the technology at that time. So I was really on top of it then. And that honestly, again, it's not in me to not really go at the core of things. That led me to graduate school, where that was the topic of my research, was how do we build credibility online quickly through our web presence? And I took image consulting from that approach of like, we have a few seconds on people's websites, and now it's social media profiles. Like, what is it if I study all of these profiles that helps us build that credibility fast?
Yeah, so that's fascinating. It's I could talk about that for 18 years.
Yeah.
But so you have helped me. I'm just going to dive right into it. You have helped me so much with how I show up online,
Mm-hmm.
how I think about myself in my business. How did you get interested in those type of topics? Like what led you down that path? Was it personal? Was it you helping people navigate that you like had clients, or how did that go?
Like specifically online, like just how to show up
Well,
online.
yeah, I'm
And be,
just
like,
wondering, like,
authentic and
like, how did that, not necessarily online, but like, how did you realize that you were good at helping people figure out how to present themselves in a way in their business that not only helped them in their business, but like help them at their core as well?
yeah, I mean, that started early for me as well too. I mean, I remember all the way back in high school kind of being a go-to person for style and how to look a certain way, and very much the advice girl. Like, I was the person people came to for answers and for advice. And there was just kind of, I guess, an innate wisdom a lot of people saw in me, and that was great to feel into that and to kind of see over the years, in young adulthood, like, okay, people come to me for answers and advice. I seem to be good at this, right?
Yeah.
And it just was this intuitive, innate knowing for what's in a certain person's way. I'm very highly observant. I'm, very much an introvert, believe it or not. Most people are shocked by that, but like, I'm an observer. And so I take in the room, and I think a lot of your listeners can empathize with being very empathic, and sensitive to what's going on. And so very quickly I can kind of sum up with the room, what's happening in a room and what's happening also within someone. And so it's like this level of communication that's happening that most people aren't attuned to. And so there was always this intuitive side to it. And then the more that I kind of leaned into that in my work, the faster results I was getting for people. But that was hard for me to make a shift between my very analytical, practical mind into this part of me, because it's a lot of it's illogical, a lot of it's nonsensical, and it's intangible. So it took a while for me to really like lean into that.
That I love that you said that, because that's actually what you've helped me do.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't really think about it in those terms until you just said that. So pretty much everyone who is going to watch this either on Facebook or download this podcast is in network marketing or in some way showing up online, selling something that they're super passionate about, usually a product or perhaps a business opportunity that they're so excited about. And one of the things in the network marketing world that we hear all the time is that we should show up and have gratitude for the things we have. We should help other people. But I often find that what we were just talking about, being comfortable with kind of who we are,
Mm-hmm.
is a problem. Do you have any kind of wisdom or just encouragement or anything you could share that might help people embrace a little bit more of like who they are when they're approaching their business?
Yeah, I mean, so we're inundated with examples of other people in their business now with social media, and that didn't exist before. So now we literally have, before we could do a ton of research for how to grow our business. Now we just have to open our feed and we have research available to us. And I think the issue where a lot of people get like really stuck and then they end up making things so much harder for themselves is they are making a lot of comparisons. And while it's good to kind of take in factual data, of course, I find that we become almost overly externally referenced, and then we lose that innate kind of instinct and intuition within us. And then you just see a lot of like sameness, like people just kind of being similar to what they see versus being themselves. So honestly, kind of the first thing that needs to happen is you really need to tune a lot of that out. And again, it's great to have inspiration always. It's great to create like mood boards. It's great to kind of know where you're headed, but you also have to have your own style. And, even someone who teaches on this, I have to be very cognizant of not too much comparison and digging on other people's feeds and stuff, because you can so easily just be kind of like shapeshift to how everyone else is showing up. And then you're siphoning away who you are left and right. So I find like really managing content intake is a huge part of that, really is. And so when you manage the content intake, and I would say, after your business is off the ground and you don't need to be like in research mode as much, you just need to be doing. I find there's some like benefit to kind of living in your vacuum a little bit. Yeah. And just like showing up and being off your feed and just like kind of just like tuned out. Ignorance is bliss, honestly, in a lot of ways in that respect. So I would start there. And I think there's a lot to be said about, some maybe even just journaling exercises, here's one of my best, probably practices. Everyone can do this when they get off the line here. Once they're done listening to this, is like reach out to 5 to 10 people that and ask them to describe you. If you were a fly on the wall listening to them talk about you, what would they say? And what specifically are the adjectives they use to describe you? I think that is one of the best exercises. And you'll see a pattern from these responses, and pick people at different parts of your life. Colleagues, clients, business people, personal people, and kind of see what comes back, because it is hard to see ourselves. It's hard to see ourselves clearly.
It's so hard. I was actually just talking about this to somebody. The first coach I ever hired, some of you listening will have been in the room when this happened, but the first coach I ever hired looked at me and said, "You should be talking about leadership all day long." And I was like, "No, like, I don't want to talk about that at all." I was like, I had this physical response to it, hated the idea. Now, 5 years later, come full circle, I just went through like this whole rebranding exercise and landed on the fact that like, why am I not talking about leadership all the time? But I think I had to go through that a little bit to really figure out in my own way, what was my own message.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense at all, but
I can't tell you how many times personally, and then I see this with my clients where, my coaches have said something to me and I've had the same reaction. I'm like, what? And I think the thing is, it's just so obvious. You're so in it. It's so you literally can't see it. Yeah. It's a fish in water, right? That doesn't know it's in water. That's what's going on. And it's, I mean, I see it with my clients all the time when I'll say something like to that extent, like that's a duh for you, Soraya. Like, obviously you should be teaching. It
took me 5 years to see it.
Yeah, I know. No, I totally get that. It happens all the time. And I'll say the same thing to my clients. I'm like, no, you need to be here. And sometimes I watch, it takes a few years and then they'll circle back around and they'll be like, you were right. I'm like, I know, but it's just, we got to be on our own journey to be there. And, there's benefits to going down different paths and just getting things off the table. And sometimes you just need to get things off the table your way. So it's out of picture, out of sight. You don't need to worry about it as an option anymore. So, all moves are the right moves in that respect, but it's really hard to see ourselves. So there are exercises, like I said, you can reach out. I find that one, like, I really think everyone should do that when they get off this and reach out, because I find that so insightful, and you'll be surprised by what people say back. And then there's benefits to hiring mentors and coaches and branding people. I mean, that really know how to see you. Because Sarah, who did my branding at Public Persona, she always puts it like, you can't see the label inside the jar.
Yeah, you really can't. But, one of the things, this is a perfect discussion, because one of the things that you helped me really figure out is how to, or at least gave me a little bit more confidence in it, and walked me through some exercises so that I could show up as myself.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people who have, again, not only just comparisonitis from social media, but just like they don't believe that they necessarily have value and that they are worthy. And of course we could go down that like whole rabbit hole, but can you describe to me, we've talked about the idea of embracing your being. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
So, I mean, that concept this is pretty standard in like the transformational coaching world. We talk about doing things, which is innately where we all turn to when it comes to solving a problem or growing our business. How? And so our mind thinks tactically. We kind of forget to look at, okay, but what are we fueling those actions with? And what we're fueling those actions with is attitude, our beliefs, our demeanor, our personality, all of that. And that's being. And so for a lot of people, and this was my journey as well, you do all the things and you find out it's getting really hard to get what I want and for those results to pay off, or, it's just taking much longer than I want it to take. And then you start looking at things like mindset and attitude, and you start looking at, okay, well, if I'm doing the same thing as this woman over here and she's getting the payoff, the tactics are the same. What's the difference? The difference is who you're being behind those actions. And so Wallace Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich, I love how he phrases this, but he calls it an impression of increase. And that to me is the bottom line factor that everyone needs to work to cultivate in themselves. So everyone's unique, but this one thing, this impression of increase, is why we buy from people. And so, we, for the most part, we don't buy from people who do good. We buy from people who feel good. And, we buy from people, and you were on, I think, the call, or I don't know if you saw the High Minds call, my first one back off maternity leave, where I was talking about people buy to be in your vicinity.
Yes.
You might not realize that, but like people are buying your energy. People are buying to be, especially service. If you're a service provider, they want to be in whatever it is that you are showing up to the table with, right? Or they don't. But we buy from people who have this impression of increase, which put another way is just like who feel like expansive, or they have something we want. Right. Yep. And you can cultivate that, on an external level. Again, with image consulting, I saw it. That's why I had to keep going deeper. You can cultivate that on an external level to a certain extent, but it's going to have short-term results. Like that has to go all the way through. And that's why being is so important. Like, can you really be that all the way through to your core?
Yeah, because it's not something, this is the typical way that I have fallen into that trap. And then I see people who I also coach in social media fall into that. They think that, well, let's just say like they're selling a particular product. Oh, well, if I set up the things in my house the way that some influencer has set them up, or if I use a filter the same way, like I'll have the same feeling. Yeah. And I'm like, no, really? No. Because it's not your feeling.
Exactly.
You're like straight up stealing someone else's feelings and trying to superimpose them on yourself. That doesn't work, right?
And we don't realize that we're doing, I really like, some people just flat out are like mimicking or copying, but I think generally for the most part, we don't even realize we're necessarily doing that. Cause like I said, there's just so much to take in, and we don't even realize how much sameness there really is across brands. But that's where it becomes really difficult to realize that like you kind of, for me, I like woke up one day and I was like, am I showing up like how I would show up among my best friends? Like, and that's a good question to pose to yourself too. Like if you ask yourself, okay, like, do I act differently on this call than I would with some of my friends? To a certain extent, of course, right? But generally, you shouldn't have two different identities. Yeah. And I think for me, because I was in image consulting, there was just like, I thought I had to be a certain way because I was an image consultant. That is so not me. I'm a relatively casual person, like in personality. But I like to, style and whatever. So I have these like dichotic mixtures to me. And I just like, image consulting really, like, I just kind of evolved out of it because I was like, I'm literally not me in this business. And so that's a good question to ask yourself is like, who are you in these different scenarios, and how can you actually like close the gap on all these different personas?
Yeah, I've actually said that on this podcast a couple of times. I've said like, if you had a glass of wine and you were sitting on the couch with your girlfriends, is that the way you're showing up online, or are you again like trying to mimic other people? Which I don't want anyone listening to this to think that would be bad, because I know that in some respects we all, especially when we're starting out,
Yeah.
and we don't know ourselves fully, particularly as like in network marketing, you have this role in your life and then all of a sudden, boom, overnight, you're like this business owner, right? And you're supposed to be
Yeah.
proficient at selling and talking to people. So you kind of have to feel your way through that.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a learning curve there, right?
Totally. I think we're talking like after those training wheels are off and knowing when the training wheels need to come off, right? Like that
Yeah.
first year in business, you kind of need templates. And I think that that's okay. Like I want to make that very okay. Like you kind of need to know the map, and there's no sense in reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
But after that, you have to find your groove. And that's where I say it's kind of best then to realize, first of all, when that line can be drawn, and then to kind of shut off the information and just kind of like really ground into who you are. Because no matter what it is that you're selling, people are buying it from you, from you. Like it's not necessarily about the product. With network marketing, there's a bunch of you selling the same thing. I'm going to go to the person I most resonate with. And you better believe, the stigma with network marketing, you better believe people are going to pick up on that. Like if you're copying or it's too templated.
Yep.
I'm not
Yeah,
yours to
absolutely.
buy from that.
Well, and that's like that is the thing that I end up teaching on for all my social media clients, which is, how you're looking at the person who enrolled you, who's doing X, Y, Z. And so you just copy them. Like at some point you realize that doesn't work. And then I find, so what typically happens, again, it happened to me and it happens to everybody that I talk to, when you realize that isn't working, then you start to dive into personal development and you're like, okay, well, there's got to be some answers on why this isn't working. And you and I have talked often about like the problem with advice, like, well, you have to have a morning routine that is this exact routine, and you have to have these journal prompts, and you have to have this gratitude list every single day, or else you will fail. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't work either, right?
It's the same. I mean, I say a lot of times you take you with you, right? So if you were one of those people who like you embraced all the doing and the strategy and you dove right in and you're going to like try everything, you're going to do the same thing in mindset work. So like you can go into mindset work and do all this self-development and like try all the things, but again, it's the same behavior, just in a different bucket. It doesn't necessarily solve the problem. I think, mindset work in general is always going to make the doing easier. But then underneath that, as you know, like I talk about, okay, but the second level of mindset work is this impression of increase, is this like what I call receiving work, and making yourself a really, really good receiver. Because if you don't have the capacity to receive the support, the help, then no matter who you hire as a mentor, no matter who you hire as a coach, it's always going to be this like surface level reaction. You might go through the motions, but then underneath there's this tape that kind of plays that's like, well, it's not going to work anyways, or it's going to be hard anyways, or it's just going to be a lot of effort. So like on a core level, you have to be a really good receiver so that up the chain of all of your efforts, mindset and strategy and whatever, that's all paying off much easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense to me. So for someone who's not familiar with that term, receiving, what do you mean by that?
I mean, your ability to allow in literally the help, the support, the resources, the money, the finance, and own it. Not like just receive it and be grateful, but I mean fully own that those things are yours.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as we can all probably point to many examples, there's a lot of shame and guilt around having. And so when I talk about receiving, it's actually, really, I'm talking about ownership, but I'm talking about having what you have and owning it. And so there's this, I think, like internalizing it as yours, like really making it yours, versus this like kind of passive, yes, things come in, but I keep them at arm's length for various reasons. And again, a lot of it's very like guilt, shame, distraction, shiny object. I mean, there's many reasons that we don't actually like receive and own what we have and what's coming to us. And receiving, frankly, means change. Let's just be honest. Like receiving on big levels change, and that's terrifying.
Sure. Change, growth, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I used to be terrible at this. I would, even before I found my business, particularly in my Army career, people would say like, oh, you're so good at what you do. And I would brush it off and I would just say, oh, I've just been in the right places at the right times. I've had the right assignments or whatever, instead of being like, no, I'm really good at what I do.
Yeah.
I had to learn that. Do you find that like people have to work on that?
Oh yeah, no, you absolutely have to work on it. Actually, I have a really good example that I think will click this into place. We say give to get, and I say get to give, because so I recently became a mom, right? And so I feel like I'm now like, my entire lifestyle has shifted, and I've got to optimize my energy in different ways. And there could be 2 days. One day I'm just annoyed and frustrated over having to do the dishes and the mess that's in my kitchen. And I'm just like, internally fuming and upset. And I could be like cursing under my breath at my husband for not doing it or whatever. Right. The other day could be a totally different response. The other day I'm like, singing and happy to do the dishes, not even like thinking anything of it. And what's the difference between those 2 days? All factors the same is one is my cup is full and one is my cup is empty. And so, great. That's, we put so much into giving, and obviously that is so important and significant and a foundation that should be there for all of our businesses. But it's a lot easier to give when you first get.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
if my cup is full and I'm giving from the overflow, then my reaction. So when it comes to receiving, this is the payoff. It's not, yes, it's about making it so that you can receive things more easily, but it's truly more about like how you maneuver through your world on a day-to-day basis and how you respond and react to it. And I would much rather at my core be the person on day 2 who sets boundaries and is direct and asks for help when need be, but does not have these like over responses to things that really aren't a big deal, right? And that's the thing. We deplete ourselves. And I think women especially, we deplete ourselves. And so for women and especially for parents, you better be a really good receiver. I see it as my sacred responsibility now being a mom. I'm a better mom.
I think that's yes. Because I see so many people fall into the trap, regardless of where they are or the challenges they have on their plate. They wear it as a badge of honor that they're navigating all these challenges. And I'm like, why are you?
I used to do
you're
that.
Like I used to do it too. Yeah. You're inviting more challenge into your life, right?
Yeah. Well, because we've created an identity around, I would call it overcoming. We problem solving, we could call it achieving all we want, but the reality, and I say this in my podcast, but like the reality is you're overcoming.
Yeah.
And me, like I was totally that person. And I was like, no, I'm strong and I'm an overcomer and Cinderella story. And like, we've glamorized the struggle. We just have, right. Yeah. And you've been a part of like where I've walked people through these treasure hunts and these exercises, and we've kind of teased some of these out. Our system goes crazy if something's just given to us without earning it. Yep. And that's part of receiving work too. And like when we talk about this impression of increase as a business owner, like you may not realize what's going on there, but those people are master receivers. And because they receive and they own and they have what they have, and there's nothing like it feels good. It's not from a crappy place or like some it's superficial, but you can see through that. I'm talking about like Oprah and Beyonce, like that kind of energy, right? Yeah. Like they receive on a massive level. But they're like, they have no qualms about where it comes from, who it comes from. They just let it in. I don't need to earn it. Right.
So funny. We got a $1,500 check in the mail, like a totally random, was not expecting it check, which when people say that, I'm like, what? Like, who does it? But it happened to us 2 days ago. It actually was a check from my husband, and he got it. He opened it and he was like, okay. Signed the little back, took the little photo of it, uploaded it, and was like, okay. And I was like, that was it? Like, that was it? He, like, to him, it was, okay, this is my money. Like, next. Okay. And I looked at that and I thought about this for like 2 days straight. If it were me, I would have been like, oh my God, this is so crazy. And I would have gone through an entire emotional spectrum about like, did I deserve this? And what is this for? And what is the meaning of it? And like, it's so unnecessary to do that.
So think about it. So that's why this is why I'm like, this is my current life work that I'm focused on, is helping people turn this dial up on receiving, because there's so much energy in that. Yeah. There's so much wasted, unnecessary energy in our issues and challenges around receiving. Yeah. And I want everyone to know, like, it's not your fault. I mean, there's a lot that goes into why receiving is very challenging, again, especially for women, unfortunately, more than men. There just is. And we don't need to have, that's a whole other conversation, right? But like, this is deeply ingrained in us. Yeah. And so, all of that energy, imagine if your mind didn't spiral on that. Would you say for like did you say a couple days or a couple hours?
It happened 2 days ago. And I've thought about it like 5 times since then.
Okay. So like we could recapture
crazy.
That could be put to, that could be put to other use. Right.
And I even know that it was happening. Like I was
Yeah. Yeah.
aware that I was doing it too. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is so crazy. But
Yeah.
I guess I was so struck by the fact that like it was a 10-second thing for him. And I was like,
Yeah.
you just got a random check out of nowhere for $1,500. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
so crazy.
and I mean, the thing is, like, we know what we want. We say what we want, right? And so let's just keep it really easy to like spell out here. Money's so easy to quantify. So like we can say we want a six-figure business, but again, when you play that out, so many of us are not ready to receive the thing that we say we want. And that's part of this work, is not making it comfortable, because it's very uncomfortable to receive what you want.
Yeah.
Even find it's a year this week when I found out I was pregnant. As much as I wanted that, terrifying. It's very uncomfortable to shake your
Yeah.
life up. Moving into the dream home, amazing. Terrifying though. That's like, are we sure we want to do that? Right. So like, it's scary. It's really scary. So when we do this work on receiving, it's about seeing how safe you can make it for yourself, and how much trust can you really ground into, and how much support can you have as you are attracting the things that you want into your world. We're still working, we're still taking action, but it's from a much more optimized place. And we're not getting into all this like overthink and headspace around receiving and guilt and shame, and then literally retracting or shutting it down, which is what so many
Yeah.
of us do.
Yeah. I'm thinking right now as you're saying that of so many, I'll just say women, because I work with mostly women, although this is not gender specific, but
Yeah.
so many people in network marketing who want to make the leap into a bigger team and a bigger salary and a bigger paycheck, and are just sabotaging themselves at every single opportunity.
Yeah.
Like whether it's,
Yeah.
that you want to do something and it's just not, you're not doing it, or you're scared to do it, or you're doing it, but not fully. Like those are some complicated emotions to navigate.
They are. And that I would classify in the bucket of mindset work. Every person's going to have their unique sabotage. And because we
Sure.
all have unique experiences that these stories and narratives that fuel this sabotage comes from, right? But again, underneath that, the general work that everyone needs to work on is this receiving.
Yeah.
Because really what it's about is the hangups are around us. There's a gap between our expectations and what we're not getting, the reality. And so like really a lot of this headspace we find ourselves sabotaging in is around us not getting what we want. And so if you do this receiving work underneath all that mindset work, it's going to make your journaling and your meditations and all that pay off so much easier, because as you know, because you've been with me and then doing your own work for so long, like there's only so much you need to dig out there. And then
Yeah.
after that, it's making the decision to like, it's like meditation. Meditation is not necessarily about how long can you stay in that space. It's about how quickly can you return to focus. And that's what this is about, is like how quickly, when it looks like you're about to get the big client or the big payoff or the big collaboration, and it gets closer and closer, and then you start to freak out and go, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Like how quickly can you ground back into trust and just knowing and like belief that it's yours?
Yeah.
And then if it's not, hey, something else was coming my way that's better, is the attitude. And so there's kind of these rules that like I operate with, and in the Mind Over Matter program, which is where I teach this foundation, like we spend a whole week on these new rules, because you got to break out of the game that you're currently in, and the game's keeping you in it, right?
Yes.
Entirely, to play by a whole different set of rules.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So you run a program. I have gone through basically the previous iteration of this program, and then now I'm actually going to go through this next one with you as well, and I'm so excited about that.
Yeah,
I
I
have a
love it.
program called Mind Over Matter. What is this program all about?
So this is the 6-week program for turning this dial up on receiving. So you're not just going to learn how to be a good receiver. Like you come out of this program and your capacity to receive on all levels is going to be turned up. And so again, it's not easy. It's not just, okay, we'll practice our gratitude and write our gratitude list at the end of the day. No, that's not enough. I'm talking about this impression of increase and owning that. And so, as we work through the framework, a lot of times what's in the way from us attracting and calling in our biggest desires is there's not space. You know, like, and I'm sure you can point to many examples in your own life where you're like, there just wasn't any room for the next big thing to come through, or the relationship to come through, or the dream clients, because you're filling it with, you know, like I said, all this other stuff, or the headspace you've wasted on, you know, 2 days thinking about this check coming in.
Totally.
You know, when more money could have been coming in, but you stalled it up, right?
Totally.
So, you know, the very first thing we do is we get clear on really what the vision is, and we actually like let things go. We make space, and we do that together as a group. And that right there for you, however you make space in your life and in your mindset, can like just, that could be it. That could be the one thing for a lot of people. So that's, you know, a big part of it. And then, as I said, you know, we change the rules. So I essentially give you an operating manual, and I say, this is your attitude. These are the exact beliefs that you need to have at your core to be someone who's got that impression of increase. And I'll give you like a teaser. One of them you've heard me say is like, all moves are the right moves. You know, so we have these
so good
golden rules. And it's like, what if you woke up every day believing that all moves were the right moves? Think about how much less energy would go into your decision making.
Yeah. So I learned that from you, I don't know, I mean, well over a year ago now. And I have now taught that phrase to some of the people that I coach on social media, because they'll come to me and they'll be like, well, do I use this filter or this filter? Do I post it a reel or is it a feed post? And I'm like, guys, like, you're stressing out about the wrong thing.
Yes.
And that's obviously just a very small example of a very large concept that could apply to anything in your business, anything in your life, where instead of focusing on the small things that aren't necessarily the key, it's trust in yourself that no matter what you choose, it's going to work out.
Yeah.
Because it will.
It will. And that's, you know, you really touched on like the last piece of this work, which is so important. You know, by the time you're through this program, not only will you have those tools, like I talked about, how quickly can you return back to a core, like just stable? Okay, like I started to get into my headspace and my stuff, like come back, right? So I have a very specific tool for that you can use throughout your day. And then the last part of it is the co-creator part. And it has nothing to do with religion or nothing to do with that. You can whatever, but it's a trust in something, really for the purpose of letting go of control. And you know how much all of us high achievers are wrapped up into control. But when you are so hands-on, white knuckling your business, you leave no space for the magic. And when I say magic, I mean those big opportunities that seemingly come in from people that you see, or the big like podcast feature, the big whatever, right? And so much of that has nothing to do with anything we did strategically. There's no way you could have lined those dots up on your own. Right? There's something, a force working for our greater good. And so we can tap into that if we let go of control. Easier said than done. So I walk you through how to really round into that. And again, it's more about having the tools for when you know you're in control and how to release the grip.
Well, yeah, I think that's so perfectly said. And I am a testimonial, I don't know, walking testimonial to all of those principles. And that so much goodness in my life over the last couple of years has been because you have taught me these fundamentals, and I've been able to really put them into practice. I mean, I have in the last year, I know people who have kind of followed my journey. In the last year, I have made so many changes, particularly because I am trusting myself that I have a plan and it is all working out. Like, it's amazing. It's just lovely to have that feeling, you know?
How liberating. It's liberating.
It is. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Because even a year and a half ago, I was super stressed out about all of it.
Yeah.
Like all of it. And now I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Like, bring it on. Mm-hmm. That's a huge, and of course, like, I did the work to get there, right?
Yeah.
It didn't just happen overnight, but those principles that you taught in this course, Mind Over Matter, or this program, those are the foundations.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super grateful.
Well, I think you probably witnessed in yourself a shift from the physical endurance of like doing and being very competent, like tactically, to mental endurance.
Yeah.
And so many people are so confident, like they have no problem taking action, but like, again, who are you being behind that action? And I find, and this was my journey, is like, no, I was reliable, dependable. I could multitask. I could do a lot in a small amount of time. Like, I could grind and hustle, but my mental like state, my attitude behind that, not so good.
Yeah. So I found myself always positioning myself as the learner.
Yes.
But what I realized that is me living in lack or living in mistrust of myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I love learning, which I do.
Yeah.
But that wasn't what that was.
Yeah.
That was me looking for more information, not knowing that I had the information.
Yes.
And I needed to trust myself that I had it.
But you need support to call that out. Let's just be
Of
real.
course.
You need like a mentor, accountability, or people that constantly remind you of that at every level. And I find like, I work with business owners that are running multi-million-dollar companies, right? So like at every level, I hate to put it on in that way, but like, we say we want this amount of money. Just because you start racking in the cash in that respect does not mean those challenges go away.
Sure.
Like I find it like, honestly, they need more reminders. And so honestly, most of my clients hire me, not because I'm teaching them anything new per se. They're hiring me for the benefit of like, I need you to keep me centered.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
for sure. I've also received that. So I'm really excited. Thank you, first of all, for your time, because that was just amazing. We have a couple things. So you have been so gracious, and I normally don't give people kind of two options, but I want to give people two options here at the end. You have been so gracious to share with us something called the Abundance Treasure Hunt.
Yes.
So I have gone through this, and I've gone through this 3 times actually, and it is incredible. So what is the Abundance Treasure Hunt?
So this is kind of the first piece of the receiving framework. I always say you can't break the rules until you master the rules. You can't change what you first don't measure. And so this Abundance Treasure Hunt helps us tease out what your current model of receiving is. So it's going to show you as we like walk you through it. And it should be lighthearted, but it's going to tap into some things, right? But like we can do it in an exaggerated way. It's like a simulation I walk you through, and you will know, oh, there's the guilt, there's the shame, there's the this. And essentially it's data collecting for yourself. So we need to figure out like where are you at right now, so we know where to turn the dial up. So that's what that workshop's going to do. And it will help you really understand like where this work plays a role in the rest of your efforts as far as, going after what you want. Yeah.
So just to kind of pick out the key points, this is a workshop. It's recorded.
Yeah.
And Shauna is gifting that to us for free, which is amazing. And so usually that has been in the past, like part of programs or other things, but she is giving that to us. And so if you are watching this on Facebook, I will drop that link in the comments. And if you are on the podcast, that will be in the podcast description, but that is going to be at shaunavanbogart.com/Soraya. And so that'll be awesome. So all you have to do is just throw in your email and you get instant access to this treasure hunt. So unbelievable. Every time I go through it, I learn so many things.
Yeah. Bring a sheet of paper and a pencil. Like it's not a like passive, you're listening to a lecture. It's a very active workshop.
It is a workshop for sure. And in that, I think it will become, people will know obviously by listening to this already, if they want to work with you in your program. But after that treasure hunt, you'll also be given basically the option to enroll in Mind Over Matter. Yep. Now, I'll tell you, there are some people that are going to listen to this and they're like, I don't even need the damn treasure hunt. I'm just going to go, like, I'm ready for the program. Yeah. So it's a 6-week program. And this is like your signature program where people get exposed to all of these amazing principles.
This is a culmination of a decade's worth of work. It really is. It is. I feel like I say this every time I come out with a new program, which is not very often. I like to go all in and sit with something for a while, right? Yeah. But this is the best work I think I've ever put out. And it excites me so much because if you go to the Mind Over Matter, like the page, and you'll provide a link to that, and you read through those testimonials, this can change your life, you guys. Like this 6 weeks can give you so much. You're going to blow your own mind. And, again, in the past, it'd be hard for me to like talk that up, but I'm telling you, like, I am blown away from every single time I get a message from an attendee about like something that's happened. And you're just like, these are unrealistic things that are happening to people, and they can happen for you.
Massively life-changing things, but then also just lovely things that just make your days beautiful.
Yes.
They don't necessarily have to be like, oh my God, I found the man of my dreams, or I found, I moved across the country or anything like that.
Just a sense of like, again, this like lightness and expansiveness that
Yeah.
you will get after our 6 weeks. Like there's frankly, honestly, because we already get started. So the sooner you register, you get access to some of these perks. Like I'm in Voxer with the group and the whole
Yep.
thing. We've already started. But when you get in there, you're gonna feel like, if you feel good just listening to this call, like you feel energized, just wait. Like, just
Yeah.
wait till we have the
Just
perks
wait.
in the program. I mean, it's like a breath of fresh air for your life. It's not me. It's just the energy of the stuff we're talking about and the content that you're going to get. This is not a more is more program. It's not a homework with worksheets kind of program. If you do the abundance treasure hunt, you'll see it's interactive. I do give you homework, but it's stuff that you've never done before. And it's not about doing.
Yeah.
It's more about like, let's really make you that person who's an impression of increase. That's what's happening in that program.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, but I'll say it again. I went through this program and it changed everything for me. The number of times on this podcast that I have promoted anything from anyone else is now one. This is the only thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I only say that because I want people listening to this to know that I don't come on here with things that I don't fully believe in. And I know if you've listened to me at all, you know that already, but I'm going to say it again. I'm not the person who's like, I'll just be an affiliate for all these other things and I'm going to promote all my friends' stuff. Like, I do not do that. In fact, I don't know if you know this, you're only the second guest I've had on this podcast.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Oh my gosh.
Usually this
That
podcast
is
is
an
me just
honor.
yapping and talking into the mic straight by myself. So
You're such
I
a
am,
natural interviewer, though. You're so good at this.
thank you. Um, I only say that because I don't promote other people's stuff unless I am massively a believer in it. And I would never come on here and encourage people to sign up if I wasn't already like someone who had skin in the game. So number one, I'm already in the program too.